Well, residents of Nwamitwa village outside Tzaneen in Limpopo say they fear for the safety of their children after a 2-year-old girl was raped and murdered. Police discovered the body of Nhlayiseko Ngobeni in a nearby bush on Thursday afternoon. She was abducted at her mother's boyfriend's house in the same area. No one has been arrested for the murder. Let's discuss this. We're now joined via Zoom by Gugu Xaba, who is the program director at Save the Children South Africa. Very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon, Flo, and good afternoon to the listeners.
I mean, when you hear these sort of stories, and, in South Africa, no doubt, there's constant stories like these ones that we are reporting on. What is your reaction when you hear something like this?
Thank you very much for the question. Save the Children, Flo, is doing so much in order to make sure that we reduce the violence that we see that is meted against children. So, right now, our view is that, yes, we have socio-economical problems as a country, but then the parents and the caregivers that are taking care of children seem not to be well mentally. And that then causes people to displace their anger or their pain or their lack towards the wrong people. Because there's no normal adult, Flo, who can just take a 2-year-old and rape her if they are mentally well. So our view right now is that, yes, we are providing positive parenting skills, meaning are parents ready to take care of their children? Because readiness also means you need to make sure that you know where the child is and what kind of an environment are they in. Who is taking care of that particular child? So if parents are not ready to have children, they give them to anyone and leave the child there and believe the child is going to be right. So it's important that we deal with the readiness of parents and their committedness to taking care of their children.
Yeah.
Besides the adults who are not well and are being hooligans, just violating a child or an adult says something is wrong with you. So right now, as Save the Children was saying, maybe we should add psychosocial support to parents in order to change the way in which we are parenting, let alone the fact that we need to take care of adults who are not mentally well. So that's basically how we see it as Save the Children, Flo.
You talk about, some of the perpetrators not being mentally well, and incidentally, we've been putting the spotlight on mental illness, and I'm concerned by your answer in that it seems as though mental illness is then being used, as some sort of scapegoat, perpetuating that stigma that is already, attached to mental illnesses. Some people might actually be perfectly fine, but just, have the propensity to do these evil things against children. Should we not, why are we directly pointing to mental illness? What have you found as Save the Children being the reason for you to be directing this at mental illness? Is this something that you've researched and that you've actually found to be true? Because this may just be, criminal element at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, research has been done. Research is indicating that as South Africa, we are tolerating violence. We accept it as if it's normal. And that has led to the fact that each time there's a violation, for instance, the data is showing us right now that it's easy to murder a child. It's easy to assault a child. And the violence is growing amongst adults to children and also child-to-child violence. So that basically says we are using violence to solve problems. And there is no normal person. And when I talk to mental illness, we basically are saying an individual doesn't assess themselves to say, yes, the child has done wrong maybe, And am I supposed to be assaulting the child, or I'm supposed to be teaching the child what the right thing is? And so it means we are not emotionally settled such that we end up making the wrong decisions, and you beat a child and you end up killing the child and you're not even seeing it. So it means there's a need for the adults that are taking care of the children to realize what violence is and to be sensitive to an ability to bring the child up well. For instance, there's this thing that some of us were brought up being beaten in our homes, and so we think it's correct to beat another child or another person. And that is where the problem is. So we cannot use mental illness as a scapegoat, but the way we are making decisions, the choices we are making to deal with conflict by fighting says something is not right to us as a society.
Right, you started off by saying that Save the Children is doing so much to mitigate violence against children. Talk to me about some of the work that you're doing, because, you know, from where I'm standing, there's still so much abuse of children, murders of children, rapes of children. And, you know, one would then think organizations like your own are perhaps maybe actually overwhelmed with the amount of violence that is in the country. And as you said, it seems as though in South Africa we are sort of accepting it and tolerating this issue of violence, and sadly, even against the innocent children.
Okay, Save the Children is functional in country, working with the Department of Social Development, Department of Health, Department of Education, and other departments, because the issue of violence and the social welfare of children is supposed to be dealt with by a multidisciplinary team. And what we do, one, we've got entry at a school level where we need to teach teachers on how to manage classes and be able to provide appropriate education and discipline where discipline is needed. And the same thing we do for parents, to say parents need to be skilled on how to do responsive parenting. Yes, the child is not doing what you want them to do. How do you teach the child and be able to discipline for development, not for destruction? And we also work with other departments to teach them how to identify violence that is occurring. For instance, at an early childhood development center, violence could be occurring, and if the practitioners cannot identify it, they won't do anything about it. So we are teaching all the people that I have mentioned. Then also, we've got what we call children's networks, where we are trying to teach children, one, to identify the environment they are in, and to be able to see if the environment is likely to expose them to danger. And so that they can be able to help us reduce violence from occurring by knowing the environments, knowing the people that are around them, and being able to understand that if I'm in this kind of environment, I'm likely to be violated. So there's a lot that needs to be done for multiple groups of people in order to ensure that we can be able to prevent violence from occurring, and where it has occurred, how to respond to it.
All right. Thanks very much for giving us your time, Gugu Xaba. We certainly do appreciate your input there. She's the program director at Save the Children South Africa. Thanks, ma'am.